If you are currently experiencing a behavioral issue of any kind, feel free to email me as I do offer virtual coaching. And if you would like, you can go to my Facebook page and you can see all the reviews that I've had from previous clients. If you find the work that I do here valuable and you want to support it, there is a Patreon now available. Just $5 a month will get you access to exclusive content only posted over there. And if you would like to make a one-time donation, I have a Cash App or PayPal. I greatly appreciate any and all support. I also want to extend a massive thank you to those of you who have signed up for the Patreon. It really means a great deal. It's very humbling. I really appreciate your support. You guys are awesome.
You see it? So look. So she is capable to practice leadership, but she practices it with the wrong member in the house. The dog needs the leadership.
Now, yes, listen, she's capable, but what did I say earlier? If the man isn't demonstrating those masculine qualities, what's going to happen? Let's say that you and that woman end up getting in a relationship or something, and you start becoming weak. She naturally has to take that. She's going to naturally be more assertive, be more controlling, be more dominant. I would argue most women don't want that job, just like most dogs don't want that job. That's why it stresses them out. So your weakness it brings out the more assertive side of the woman. It makes them more masculine because you're acting fucking feminine. Just like with your dog, you are acting weak and showing soft traits, acting like prey. Well, you're a predatory animal. That's gonna bring more of the assertive side out of them. It's gonna bring the wolf out of the dog.
80% of my clients are women. 80%. When I go to, their home, because I like to assess and evaluate the dynamics inside the house, the dog is in the front, wife is number 2, kids are number 3, husband is in the back of the pack.
This is in the United States.
United States. Yeah. United States. So, why the dog is in the front? She puts him there. Mm-hmm. Why? Because she only practices affection. And why the husband is in the back? Because she practices rules, boundaries, limitations with him.
Now, here's where I'm gonna disagree with Caesar a little bit. He's right though, and I've been to so many fucking homes where this is the dynamic. The woman is the one running shit. The man's in the back. The dog is at the top of the hierarchy. Well, why? Because again, women tend to prioritize and put affection first, emotions first, and this influences how they interact with the dog. And how they interact with the dog shapes how the dog perceives you. And if dogs are creatures of hierarchy, right, everything comes down to where do I fit in this group? Who's running the show in this group? Who makes the rules around here? Who's in charge? Who's the strongest member of the group? And you display weak traits, your dog doesn't have any fucking choice but to take over. Whether it's a submissive dog or whether it's a dominant dog. It doesn't matter, because no matter where that dog sits, instinctually it's saying somebody's got to be in charge around here, because that's all it knows. But what I'll say, the thing I disagree with him on, is where he says the woman practices rules, boundaries, and limitations for the man. She puts him there. I don't agree with that. The man allowed her to put him there, just like the man allowed the dog to take over. We bear the responsibility. It's not the woman's fault if you're too fucking weak and you let the woman take over. You cave to the woman. You cater to the woman. You give the woman power and control. It's not her fault. You did that. You allowed her to put you there. And if the day you met that woman, and let's say, now this is the way I do shit. I give my number and say, hey, text me or call me. I don't ask and beg for their fucking phone number. Stop doing that shit, guys. You give them your number. You tell them why you're talking to you. You introduce yourself, be a gentleman, and you let them know, hey, I'm interested in doing this. Call me or text me. And if you hear from them, then they know they're interested. But what do most of you do? You beg for the phone number. Maybe they reluctantly give you the phone number, and maybe you pester them for weeks trying to get them to go on a date, and you think they're playing hard to get or some shit, but they're just not interested in you. They're not attracted to you, because based on the way you came at them or started the interaction with them, the way you presented yourself, that first impression, you probably came across awkward, weak, shy, timid. And this woman knows you're a bitch, and she knows if she's the type, she could take advantage of you. So that sets the precedent for everything to follow. Then let's say you manage to get that woman on a date. Finally, she's like, she agrees. She just caves, and she's like, fine. There's something I heard about Ben Shapiro, where the story of him and his wife is he like pestered her. He just was relentless. And guys think, oh, if I'm persistent, that's a good thing. No, no, it fucking isn't. And finally, she gave in and agreed to go. It's like you don't want it. You don't want that dynamic. You are asking for trouble. You are asking to be disrespected because you're not demonstrating that your time is worth anything, and you're not demonstrating that there's a certain standard you have, and if you don't adhere to this standard, I'm just going to go somewhere else. And if you're not interested, cool, that's fine. I'm not going to continually bother you. If you show me through your actions or not responding, you're not interested, all right, cool. Hey, it is what it is. I hope you find what you're looking for. I'm going to go somewhere else. But what do most of you do? I see women post this in Facebook all the time. They post these DMs. It's just like the guy just pestering week after week, day after day, message, what you doing? Hey, girl, what you doing? And then you get mad if she don't respond. Man, fuck you. You're the problem. But you want to blame the woman. And then you go out on a date with that woman, and that woman knows you're weak as fuck. So what does she do? She's disrespectful to you, but you take it because you're like, oh fuck, I finally got her out on a date. So you just tolerate it. And maybe time goes on. Let's say you get in a relationship with this woman. This woman has all the power and control, and she knows it, and she disrespects you over and over again. And you take it. And then we want to blame the woman when, say, you get married and she divorces your ass and takes half your shit because maybe you got some money or something. And then say it's the woman's fault. No, motherfucker, from day one, you showed how much of a weak little bitch you are. The hierarchy, the power dynamic was fucked up, and you accepted it. All right, everybody, we're going to dive in. I don't know if y'all are ready for this. But the last clip was Caesar and Andrew Huberman. Thank you so much, everybody who's watched, who's subbed, who obviously there's a lot of interest in this, and I think the title had a lot to do with that. There are so many aspects of this. This is a very deep and multifaceted subject, and I'm going to briefly go over different factors that play into this problem. And I'm very, very grateful that people are interested in this, because I think these are very important things that we need to discuss, because we have so many problems on a societal level, and a lot of us aren't really aware of how we got here. And it's easy to point the finger and blame the opposite sex, or blame your dog, or blame society, or point the finger and be the victim and act like you have no responsibility or accountability in this whole mess. But if we can become aware of these things, we could take steps to better ourselves and ensure that we don't fall prey to the influence. One of the best comments I've seen, and it was on a video talking about the nature of propaganda and how it works, and somebody had said, if you can't spot the propaganda, then you are being influenced by it. I couldn't have put it better myself. So I want y'all to keep that in mind, because there's so much goddamn propaganda out there. A lot of it is obvious, at least to me, but I've been studying this stuff for a while, but a lot of it is really sneaky shit. And you won't even know that you're being influenced by things. And the advent of social media has made propaganda and social influence even more nefarious, because now we have people who can get online and act like they're just a regular person. They don't have any sort of power or influence, but as we've seen with like AIPAC, how many people have discovered that there are a lot of these political channels out here that are being funded by certain groups to push certain messages. And so there's a lot of that sort of shit happening, but it also has to do with social messages and belief systems, and influencing people to think certain ways, influencing people to behave certain ways, influencing people to talk certain ways. It affects every aspect of our lives, and a lot of times we have no idea. And this is why I made the post saying that if you do not know who Edward Bernays is, and we're going to get to Edward Bernays, I'm going to show you a clip. It's very, very important that y'all learn about that man. and read his book, Propaganda. It's a short read. It'll open your eyes to a lot of shit. And of course, he wrote a book called Manufacturing Consent. But one of the best quotes in this book is, and I posted, I don't remember where it is exactly in this, but basically, Edward Bernays was talking about how, you know, people's tastes, preferences, ideas, beliefs, they're all being molded by people you've never heard of, people you don't even know exist, and they're being molded in ways that you're not even aware. You don't even know you're being influenced. You're not even aware that your belief systems are being influenced. You're not even aware. You know, they say that the intelligent elite, this is the way that they can keep society in line, because they view us as, you know, useless eaters who act on primitive impulses, and it's their job to manufacture consent, to keep people in line, and to keep people doing what benefits them. So I'll show you a clip of Edward Bernays, and it'll give you just a taste of what this man did many, many years ago and how it's influenced society today. But first, I want to point this out. So the title, right? The title of that clip, talking about how weak men allow women to dominate them. And then we allow the dog to dominate the family. So, this is very important. And somebody put a comment on the last video and basically said, like, this clip is like an encapsulation of all of the problems we experience in the West living in one household. Yes, absolutely. It fucking is. Now, one of the core things I talk about on this channel is educating people about dominance. What is it? What is it not? Well, the word, what is the definition? It means power and influence over others. That's all dominance is. And there are many species. This is this idea, especially in the dog world, that alpha theory has been debunked, dominance doesn't exist, or dominance is so rare. This is completely untrue, and so many lives have been destroyed because of this lie. So, power and influence over others, that is dominance. Well, there are many, many species who form dominance hierarchies. This is how nature, you know, because we humans, we create dominance hierarchies. The social structure we have is, you know, government. You know, that government is the one that makes the laws, writes the rules. They're the supposed authority, right? And then down the chain it goes. But of course, there are people above the government, corporations. It's a mess. But in nature, you know, since there's no governing body in nature to make rules and laws for their species to follow, nature has its own way of creating order. And it does it through dominance hierarchies. So, there are many social species that create dominance hierarchies. Dominance hierarchy, formerly colloquially called a pecking order, a type of social hierarchy that arises when members of animal social groups interact, creating a ranking system. Different types of interactions can result in dominance depending on the species, including ritualized displays of aggression or physical violence. A big misconception, especially when it comes to dogs, is that aggression is like a defect. We think because we've domesticated dogs that somehow we've eliminated dominance, we've eliminated aggression. We think we've bred these traits out of them, and this is simply not fucking true. And we'll get to that. We'll get to why in a little bit here. But aggression is the highest form of communication. And especially in the animal world, aggression is the level that a member of a group will rise to in order to enforce obedience or to ascend the ranks as far as the dominance hierarchy is concerned, or to maintain control of something or to gain control of something. Aggression is a form of communication. And so if we automatically assume that aggression of any form is like a behavioral problem, well, then we'd have to conclude that every animal on planet Earth who, you know, hunts prey or forms dominance hierarchies through fighting and competition. They're all defected. They all have behavior problems. Well, that's fucking ridiculous. This is how nature organizes itself. Aggression is just a form of communication that animals use for one reason or another. And of course, aggression can be used. There may be aspects of fear or stress or whatever that contribute to that, but I'm talking specifically in relation to a dominance hierarchy. Now, what is the point of a dominance hierarchy? Right? So, this paper here, dominance hierarchies in a nutshell: why, how, dangers, and solutions. Life and societies have evolved as a response of organisms to environmental conditions. Dominance hierarchy forms an inner structure of a society, which allows society members to stay together without repeated fighting. Access to resources is provided by hierarchical status. In the absence of resources, the lowest ranking individuals are at the most risk. Certain patterns of dominance hierarchy persist in modern people in Euro-American societies. Moreover, special patterns have occurred, such as parallel membership in various subgroups, voluntary access to some of the subgroups, reverse hierarchy, and tendencies toward equality. Which, by the way, dogs do not believe in equality. This bullshit that I see a lot, and especially in the R plus communities or the force-free people, is, oh, I'm my dog's partner. I want to be friends with my dog. Your dog doesn't see it that way. Your dog does not believe in this 50-50 fairy tale bullshit, and I would argue that most animals don't. Most animals and species that form dominance hierarchies, they do not believe in equality. That is why we have dominance hierarchies. And human relationships, these people that strive for these 50-50, oh, my partner, we create partnerships with men and women. It doesn't fucking work that way. Then we wonder why we have so many problems with the opposite sex. But listen, I'll say this before I continue. Anybody here who's watching, if you want to blame the opposite sex, well, I'm going to give you a reality check, and that works for whether you're a man or a woman. You want to point the finger across the aisle and say it's their fault? You can miss me with that shit. We're both at fault. Men and women are both at fault. We've both fallen prey to the propaganda, the social engineering, the manufacturing of the specific dynamics we have playing out right now. And this is why, the dating world is such a fucking mess. But in spite of these changes, hierarchy still influences the life of an individual. The probability of survival, reproduction, communication, and transfer of information may serve as examples. Both high hierarchical disparity and isolation cause stress and health problems. Feelings of guilt, fear, and stress can be used as markers of a harmful disparity. Warning signs include the lack of support of interpersonal relationships, prestige, social norms, and cultural products that could mitigate a hierarchical difference. Listen, hierarchies can definitely create problems, but not all hierarchies are bad. Dominance is not bad. Dominance hierarchies are not bad. Your workplace is a dominance hierarchy. You have a rank at your job. Your boss has a rank. Your boss has a boss. Your boss has a boss has a boss. Up to, the CEO, whoever owns the company, there is a chain of command. There is a dominance hierarchy. Your boss has more authority than you. Your boss's boss has more authority than both of you. It's a system of checks and balances. The whole point of it, though, is to avoid conflict, and we'll get to that here. In this review, we address the principles and functioning of dominance hierarchies, describe the structure of hierarchy in modern societies. Now, this is talking more so alluding to humans, but this is more so tied to dogs and how the human-dog relationship, we're both social species. So if you live with a dog, there is a hierarchy there. There's a hierarchy between men and women. There's a hierarchy in a family. There's no way around it. But it explains how the rank of the individual is determined and shapes the life of a person. We briefly summarize the basic patterns of dominant and submissive behavior. The rank of the individual is predictable, and so is the behavior connected to his or her rank. This allows us to predict where particular aid and attention are required. I've been recently arguing with an individual named Effective Dog Behavior, and she wanted to tell me that, well, you're just perceiving hierarchy. It's a label. Well, you can make that argument for virtually anything. Oh, well, woman is just a label. Well, what is it now? And it creates this ridiculous bullshit of now we're questioning what a woman is. Let's have some common sense here. Let's use logic, reasoning, right? if it allows us to predict, right? Dominance hierarchies are something that are easily observable and gives us information that we can easily predict, which means it's consistent, right? If it were just a label, if it were just this flippant thing that you really, it's so ethereal and woo-woo, well, it isn't. And why do all these scientists who study these social species, they all use the same language to describe it? Whether it's dogs, chimps, lions, people, doesn't matter. Mice even. So, what is the purpose? Let's see. Several species adapt to environmental conditions. Oh, here we go. Let's see. Dominance hierarchy is a feature of a society or family in which, 1, the number of conflicts between individuals decreases. Because, 2, some people give way to others and let them have resources without fighting, mostly based on their experiences from previous agonistic and interactions. And 3, the higher-ranking individuals restrict the lower-ranking ones. Several species adapt to environmental conditions by living in societies. They form a society, number of members, ratio of males to females, and social structures, including dominance hierarchies, reflect the environmental conditions. Listen, so basically the point is, the purpose of a dominance hierarchy is to avoid conflict so we can cooperate effectively and get a job done or move through life in a more peaceful, harmonious way. When we establish a pecking order, there's conflict at first to establish the order, but once the order has been established, it leads to a lot less conflict, a lot less fighting, a lot less argument. It's beneficial to survival to organize a society this way. And the way it organizes is the strongest personalities sit at the top, and it's like a ruler, a little checks, down your ruler, down and down and go. Each personality fits in somewhere until you get to the weaker ones at the bottom. So what happens if I'm a stronger personality and I rise to the top? The benefits are, because nature is always trying to weed out the weak genetics, right? So nature will organize itself this way so that the strong genetics get access to the mating rights first, so their genes get propagated first, which is beneficial for the evolution and the continuation of that species, and also gives access to that individual. They get resources first, food, shelter, whatever, so that they can maintain their strength and their position. But it isn't all fucking rainbows and sunshine. While there are benefits, what are the costs of being the alpha? Costs of being a high rank in a hierarchical group, which offsets the benefits, or there are costs. The most common cost to high-ranking individuals are higher metabolic rates and higher levels of stress hormones. In great tits and pied flycatchers, high-ranking individuals experience higher resting metabolic rates and therefore need to consume more food, right? That's why I say they get access to food first, but they also need more food in order to maintain fitness and activity levels than subordinate groups, or than the subordinates in their group. The energetic cost of defending territory, mates, and other resources can be very consuming and cause high-ranking individuals who spend more time in these activities to lose body mass over long periods of time or over long periods of dominance. Therefore, their physical condition decreases the longer they spend partaking in these high-energy activities, and they lose rank as a function of age. But this gives way to the younger, more stronger members to take over so that the cycle can repeat. We're always bringing fresh genes into the equation. Right? Now, being subordinate offers a number of benefits. Subordination is beneficial in agonistic conflicts where rank predicts the outcome of a fight. Less injury will occur if a subordinate individual avoids fighting with higher-ranking individuals who would win a large percentage of the time. Knowing of the pecking order keeps both parties from incurring a cost of a prolonged fight. In hens, it has been observed that both dominants and subordinates benefit from a stable hierarchical environment because fewer challenges means more resources can be dedicated to laying eggs. In groups of highly related individuals, kin selection may influence the stability of hierarchical dominance. A subordinate individual closely related to the dominant individual may benefit more genetically by assisting the dominant individual to pass on their genes. Now, this works a little different with people from my experience, because I'm going to give you a lot of my experience with all of this, especially engaging with the opposite sex. But if you look up a list of species that form dominance hierarchies, you'll see wild dogs, like coyotes or dingoes or whatever on that list. But I find it very interesting that they don't include the domesticated dog. And I think this is on purpose. But one of the biggest problems we have in the dog community, but in society at large, is that the way we perceive dogs is that they don't form dominance hierarchies. And dominance isn't a thing because we've domesticated them. Or for one reason or another, we believe this lie. And yet, we have studies like this from the Messerly Research Institute in Austria, Vienna, of veterinary medicine, who did a study with lab-raised wolves and lab-raised dogs. Now, the scientists who conducted this study, their belief was that the conclusion of this study because they believed that wolves were actually the more competitive ones who would argue more and form dominance hierarchies, and the dogs would be more cooperative. Well, they found that the opposite was true. And for everybody who thinks alpha theory was debunked, the individual Dr. David Meck, I have so many videos on this showing Meck's actual statements, because this is another huge lie in this fucking community. But even in sociology, I hear this repeated in other corners of the internet, talking about how, well, alphas don't exist, alpha theory was debunked. No, it fucking wasn't. All David Meck corrected, because he was initially studying wolves in captivity, right? Unrelated wolves. Which, if you put a group of unrelated wolves together, they will battle and fight and compete to form a dominance hierarchy, a pecking order. But what he found was, when you study groups of wolves in the wild, it's a family unit more of the time. In rare cases, you may see a group of unrelated wolves out there. But the majority of the time, you're going to be observing a family unit. And a family unit is just a mother and a father who mated and created offspring. And so the pecking order is just the parents, have authority over the kids, just like humans. That was the only thing he corrected. He did not say that the alpha theory in and of itself was total bullshit. That's not what he said. In fact, he said alpha would be the appropriate word to use if you were talking about a group of unrelated wolves, because they will fight and compete to form a pecking order. Well, this study, it says even here, breeding for dependence, not cooperation, may have driven initial dog domestication. So, since this was contrary to what they had believed, it took them by surprise. But one thing that they also had said was, let's see. Now, James Serpell is an ethologist, right? And I have videos showing some of James Serpell's work. But he said, it's wonderful work. James Serpell, an ethologist at the University of Pennsylvania, said, but it's not what the dog training community wants to hear. You can't say the word dominance around them. No, a lot of them you can't. They fucking lose their shit. Does dominance exist as a phenomenon in dogs? The answer is clearly yes, Serpell says, although he notes there are breed differences and yada yada. But what the scientists who did the research said, Range and Viriani, suspect that the relationship between dogs and humans is also hierarchical, with humans as top dogs rather than cooperative as in wolf packs. Because what they found was that, the wolves ended up being the more cooperative species, and they found that dogs form strict linear dominance hierarchies. The researchers paired a high-ranking dog with a low-ranking pack buddy and set a bowl of food, gave the same challenge to a pair of wolves. In every matchup, the higher-ranking dog monopolized the food, Range told the meeting. But in wolf tests, both high and low-ranking animals had access and were able to chow down. They were able to share food. They were more cooperative. They may still argue, but they were more cooperative. But the dogs formed a strict linear... The dogs, in contrast, formed strict linear dominance hierarchies that demanded obedience from subordinates. Dogs do not believe in equality. It is a dictatorship. Now, of course, depending on the personalities that are in the group. But They're essentially saying that the notion of the dog-human cooperation, this man's best friend, which I think is total bullshit. We need to stop buying into these feel-good sentiments. Needs to be reconsidered, Range said, as well as the hypothesis that domestication enhanced dogs' cooperative abilities. Well, clearly it hasn't. Instead, our ancestors bred dogs for obedience and dependency. It's not about having a common goal, Range said. It's about being with us, but without conflict, right? This is why we need to create a dominance hierarchy. But this is how dogs see the world. They see the world and their relationships with us through the lens of a dominance hierarchy. They need to know where they fit into the group. There must be someone in charge. We tell them something and they obey. And since this crucial aspect of understanding dogs, and humans even, is lost on people, we wonder why aggression is on the rise. And now I have a series on my channel called, and it's the same with our children. I have a series, there's 2 videos if you're interested. It's some of my favorite videos I've ever done, but it's called The Parallels Between the Rise in Aggressive Behavior in Dogs and Kids. And we could see the cultural overlap. There are strong parallels there. They almost overlap identically. Why do we have so many more aggressive dogs nowadays? Just like aggression in kids is on the rise. We have more disrespectful kids, entitled kids, overly empowered kids. Just like we have all these aggressive dogs. It's like, what's going on? Well, culturally, you have in the dog world the push towards positive reinforcement and force-free and all this feel-good bullshit. And your dog is your friend. And love first, affection first. And no, discipline's bad. Don't tell your dog no. That's abuse. And with the kids, it's the gentle parenting, which gentle parenting is misunderstood. What it's become is permissive parenting. Just like if you're permissive with your dog will just walk all over you. You're permissive with your kid's going to walk all over you. It's that simple. Power dynamics. Nobody talks about power dynamics, which we'll get to that in relation to the clip with Caesar and Andrew discussing power dynamics between men and women. Now, I'm going to show you, because everybody wants to blame feminism, right? How did we get here? The cultural problems we have in terms of relationships between men and women. It's like feminism. We want to blame feminism and blame women. It's their fault. And now, this is how deep it goes. But a lot of the programming, say you watch TV or advertisements or whatever, what do we see in terms of the dynamic that's been shown to us for decades now is, you watch shows like Everybody Loves Raymond or King of Queens or you name it. There's so many. But you see a lot in commercials too. The dynamic is the husband is this blubbering fucking half-witted idiot who can't tie his shoes by himself. They're portrayed like another kid in the family that the woman has to take care of. And the woman is this strong, assertive, decisive, intelligent person who's got to clean up. Oh, a Home Improvement was another one. Who's got to clean up the messes of the father figure, the man. And, the woman is the one that holds the household together. And we've seen that for decades and decades, and all this cultural programming, this societal engineering. Well, when you add feminism to that, well, where did that all start? And what a lot of people don't know about feminism is that it was a propaganda campaign started by men. Men you've never heard of. Well, what was their goal? Well, there's usually more than one end game with stuff like this, but everything has served to flip the power dynamics between men and women, right? We're gonna emasculate men, which in turn, the more we emasculate men and create feminine traits in them, the more it's going to create masculine traits in women, right? Because nature's got to balance itself out somehow. But this is the natural order being flipped. Just like if you as a dog owner, your dog is a predatory animal, right? And even though, say, in terms of breeding, we have, removed aspects of dominance and certain traits out of them, they're still there. So this is where socialization becomes very, very important. You know, if you act like prey, you take on traits of a soft, submissive subordinate. You know, if dogs operate within a dominance hierarchy and you act like a subordinate, well, that's going to bring out more dominant, assertive, controlling traits in your dog. Just like if you're a man and you supplicate to a woman, you know, show appeasement behavior, just like a subordinate dog would show appeasement behavior to the more dominant one. Well, the woman you're with, she believes now she's got to run the show and she's going to control you. This is why we have terms like who wears the pants, or you're pussy whipped, or you know, because what's that alluding to is a power dynamic. You know, what do you call it? What do they call it nowadays on the internet nomenclature? You know, simping. Guys who willingly give their power to women, just hand it over. You know, out of insecurity or lack of confidence, or you know, or they just don't know any better. They think, you know, as Caesar will say in the video, you know, in the clip, "Happy wife, happy life." Cater to their every need. Just like if you cater to your every need of your dog and you just give them everything and you dote on them and you know, no rules, boundaries, or structure, it's all love and affection and all that shit, you end up getting a dog who doesn't respect you and is going to treat you like a subordinate. This is not hard. This is not rocket science. Now, I'll play this video from Edward Bernays. Again, the man who wrote this book, Propaganda. Listen to what he has to say in terms of what his role was in the feminist movement.
One day, Mr. George Hill, president of the American Tobacco Company, or the largest, maybe the largest tobacco company extant at that time, called me in and said, "We're losing half of our market." And I said, "Why, Mr. Hill?" He said, there's a taboo by men that does not permit women to smoke, either in public or even at home. What can we do about breaking down that taboo? I said, "Have I your permission to see a psychoanalyst?" He said, "What'll it cost?" I said, "Let me ask." So I called up Dr. Brill, who was one of the great disciples of my uncle Sigmund Freud. Said, "What'll it cost, Dr. Brill, for me to have a little conference with you on a question that is of importance to the people whom I'm working with?" And he said, $125, which at today's purchasing power would be about 20 times that. So I went to Dr. Brill and I asked him what cigarettes meant to women. And let me say in parenthesis that cigarettes at that time were not regarded as dangerous to your health, because that had not been found out yet. In fact, they were regarded as symbols of manhood. Little boys smoked them to prove that they were older than they were. And they were regarded as symbols of importance in the society, giving pleasure and so on. So I went to Dr. Brill and asked him what cigarettes meant to women, and he answered very quickly, "Cigarettes are torches of freedom to women. They want to smoke to dramatize man's taboo against women by not permitting them to smoke, and that's why they want to smoke." And then he added as an afterthought, "and they titillate the erogenous zones of the lips." Here I had my $125 worth of knowledge. What could I do with that information? I decided that there were 2 days of freedom in the United States. One was July 4th, political freedom, but that was no good because people were in the country using firecrackers to celebrate the day. They were permitted at that time. This was some 50 years ago. The other day was Freedom of the Spirit, Easter Sunday, and it occurred to me that any young debutante who was aware of the times and of herself as a woman being discriminated against would be delighted to walk in the Easter parade with her bow to dramatize the idea that cigarettes were indeed torches of freedom, and to validate and to invalidate the taboo against women smoking. So I called up a debutante friend of mine, asked her to get another friend and 2 young men whom they liked, and I also instructed them on how to give information about what they did to the newsreels, weekly newsreels, to the newspapers, to the 3 important press associations, the AP, the United Press, and International News Service, and to walk from 34th Street to 57th and back and forth, lighting torches of freedom to protest man's inhumanity to women by a taboo against smoking. Next morning, there wasn't a newspaper in the United States, even the New York Times had a front page story, "Debutantes light torches of freedom to protest man's inhumanity to women by a taboo against smoking," lighting cigarettes in their walk. The interesting thing to me was that within 3 days, the newspapers, without any intercession on my part, published accounts that women were smoking in Union Square in San Francisco, in Union Square in Denver, and on the Boston Commons. And to my surprise, within 6 weeks, on their own, without any intercession on my part, the League of Theaters, which had a ban on women smoking in the smoking rooms under the orchestras of every good theater in New York, lifted the ban and women were allowed to smoke. That obviously set a trend, and the Surgeon General's statement that cigarettes were dangerous to your health did not come out until about 30 years later.
Now, what did he just say there, really? Now, Edward Bernays is responsible for a lot of cultural trends and social engineering. Like, back in the day, when they started to promote the healthy breakfast being eggs and bacon and sausage, I think. That was because of Edward Bernays. That didn't just happen. That wasn't because of science. But what did Edward Bernays do? And this is what y'all have to really be careful of. Everybody who, props science up as like your God, and science has become its own religion. People like Edward Bernays, they utilize what's called the expert class. People in positions of perceived authority because they're experts. They use people like that to influence people to buy into things. Like, this is another book, Trust Us, We're the Experts. This is a must read as well, because all you have to do, if you want to influence people's public opinion or perception of things, or get people to buy into trends, or is you get people who are doctors, or they have licenses, or whatever, you name it, whatever expert, and you get them to push some bullshit on your behalf. You know, you pay them or you incentivize them some way. And next thing you know, through different channels of communication and disseminating information, whether it's newspapers or the local news or, nowadays through social media, or it's going to then influence people because, well, they're an expert, so they must know something. And that's how you get people to buy products or to buy into trends. Now, and listen, I'm going to say some things that are uncomfortable truths, but we're all susceptible to programming, social engineering, propaganda. But unfortunately, listen, women, by and large, make up the majority of the purchasing power, or they make 80% of the purchases in terms of consumer trends. That's why a lot of advertising is targeted towards women. Because women, they have more of a follower mindset. They tend to want to fit into the group. And so women buy into trends more than anybody. Right? Women aren't trendsetters. Women follow trends. And you see this a lot within like the beauty and the fashion, and I notice it all the time, like the little shit, like the little thing like the nose rings, or lately it's been with like the certain way they do their eyebrows. Before it was like the penciled in eyebrows and they're like big blocks, which I think is ugly. But now lately it's been like these fluffed up, like almost look like caterpillars, little shit like that. But in other areas, like the trans movement or all, why does it seem like there's more and more gay people? They call them transsexuals because they see it on social media and they're influenced by it, and maybe there's some peer pressure involved, or because they want to be different, or they adopt these ways of being and thinking because it benefits them socially in some way. But because it's trendy, it's new, it's different. They want to be part of the in-group. Or sometimes it's the opposite. They want to be counterculture. Us rebellious people can be catered to as well. Just like in the news, you have CNN and Fox, right? Well, CNN is propaganda made for liberals and leftists and whatever, and Fox News is propaganda made for Republicans and conservatives. And so it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. You're going to be influenced in some way to serve people like Edward Bernays, and of course the people that Edward Bernays were working for. Because everything is done to benefit them and not you. Which is why you see all this bullshit with like the race war. It's always white versus black, gay versus straight, Christian versus Muslim, man versus woman, dog versus baby. Name it. There's so many different aspects of society now that they have used divisive tactics and propaganda to influence people to just hate each other and fight each other. Oh, Republican, Democrat. And people don't even know. They don't even know they're falling into it. I mean, politics is a huge one. I don't know why anybody would buy into one side over the other. Like, the whole system is against you. It's a top versus down. It's a good versus evil. It's not left versus right. The sooner we can get that through our thick fucking skulls, the better off we'll be. But, so what is the point of this, right? Now, this whole thing, this torches of freedom, what did it set the precedent of? It was men. The whole message was men are oppressing women. So light these torches of freedom. The cigarette was supposed to represent rebellion and basically saying fuck our oppressor, which is men. And a lot of women didn't think like that back then, but this set a trend. This set in motion different, it was like a cultural movement. And of course you put it on the newspaper, and it's going to influence women to follow along. You get it in their head that men are oppressing them, and for one reason or another, they buy into it. But who does it benefit? Like you said, this all started because the cigarette manufacturers said, hey, 50% of the market, only men smoke, because it was taboo for women to smoke. It was all just so they could get women to buy cigarettes. But of course, there are other aspects of this too. Like I said, it began feminism. Now of course feminism started way before this, but It was another way that they could get women to buy into this idea that men were oppressing them. Now it's pitting men versus women. Right? So, now, we'll set that aside for a second. But the other one I wanted to just touch on was the Milgram experiment. And this is why, for me, everything goes back to hierarchy. You know, everybody, we're talking with dogs and people, we're talking about instincts, emotions, but everything goes back to hierarchy at the end of the day. That is the foundation of everything. So the Milgram experiment. Now, this is another book. Obedience to Authority. This is one of the best books I've ever read in my life. Most fascinating books I've ever read in my life. I fucking love this book. I highly recommend. Just like Propaganda. This is an absolute must read. This shit is fascinating. But it'll really open your eyes to some shit. And so, the famous Milgram experiment. Now, I mentioned this in the last video I did. But in the early 60s, a series of social psychology experiments that were conducted at Yale by psychologist Stanley Milgram, who intended to measure the willingness of study participants to obey an authority figure who instructed them to perform acts conflicting with their personal conscience. This is why I don't agree with this assertion that all behaviors are rooted in emotion. Because the participants in this study, they had not just emotional, but moral conflictions. Their conscience was telling them not to proceed, but the authority figure, they did what the authority figure told them to do. Participants were led to believe that they were assisting in a fictitious experiment in which they had to administer electric shocks to a learner. Now, you can watch videos. There are videos of this. You could see the experiment and how they did it. They were led to believe that they were shocking someone who was the learner. These fake electrical shocks gradually increased to levels that would have been fatal if they were real. In the first version of the study, the learner could be heard banging on the wall at 300 volts and 315 volts and then falling silent. The experiments unexpectedly found that a very high proportion of subjects would obey the instructions, with every participant going up to 300 volts and 65% going up to the full 450, which would have killed you. Let's see. But yeah, basically they found here, if at any time the teacher indicated a desire to halt the experimenter was instructed to give specific verbal prods. The prods were in this order. 1, please continue or please go on. 2, the experiment requires that you continue. This is basically when the person giving the shock would object and be like, that their conscience was kicking in saying, I can't do this. This is wrong. 3, it is absolutely essential that you continue. 4, you have no other choice. You must go on. And so the findings, the results were fast. They were incredible, but they're also fucking scary. And this goes back to the Nuremberg trials when the Nazis they had on trial were asked, wow, how could you commit such acts of atrocity against your fellow human being? Well, we were just following orders. Did you not think people who were prosecuting Jews or genociding Jews, do you not think they had any moral issues with that? But they did it anyway. This is why I have issues with military, because the whole idea is that you're programmed to just follow orders. You know, what doesn't matter if you're blowing up children or innocent people. It doesn't matter. You follow orders. This is why I can't just get behind the sentiment of just blindly saying, oh, thank you for your service. Do you really even know who you're serving? That's the question. You want to talk about military propaganda? That's its own holy shit. But now, this is why I'm saying so everything at the end of the day goes back to hierarchy. People in perceived positions of authority, we just do what we say. So there's leader-follower dynamic, right? Doesn't matter how you feel about something. Even instincts. It's the hierarchy at the end of the day. Now, of course, some people have broken this down and have discussed that there's also the novelty factor, that this is a new experience and it's unfamiliar, so they don't know how to navigate it because it's brand new. And so, since they can't predict what's to come next, it's easier to succumb to what the authority figure says. I definitely understand that aspect of it. But now let's finally get to the clip here. And I'm sorry, I know it took so long, but I wanted to there was a lot I wanted to touch on first. I'll leave a timestamp in the comments if y'all just wanted to skip that and get right to this. But so this is the fascinating stuff.
Temporarily breaking down my notion of cuteness was very important. He doesn't understand cute.
Correct.
He has no concept of cute. He only understands what he understands. I'm the one projecting but he's like, I want to cuddle him and I want to play with him. I confess this is easier for me to do now that I've done it with one dog before. It's much harder for my girlfriend to do. She's like, she gets pulled in.
Yeah.
We joke, you caved to love. We joke, it's like we cave to our own feelings of love. But it can damage the safety and the general pack order. And then people think, pack order sounds like not love. Could you elaborate a?
Yes. So, okay, they're talking about people's cuteness, or people caving into their dog because of cuteness, or they because it causes them to feel things, and even if the dog's doing something they shouldn't do, and they know they shouldn't do it, they don't want them to do it. Well, because they're cute, they let it slide. And this happens a lot with the little dogs. And we wonder why little dogs are neurotic as fuck. It's because people baby them and they treat them different because they're so cute. And even the shit that you would be scared of, if that little dog, if a Rottweiler did the same thing that a little Chihuahua was doing, you wouldn't think it was so cute, would you? You'd probably be scared shitless. But let's tie this, because I'm going to make some parallels between the dog-human dynamic and the man-to-woman relationship. Now, he talks about how his girlfriend, she struggles more with it. Yeah, it's because women tend to lead with emotions. Right? And this is why, because Caesar says 80% of his clients are women. And most of my clients are women too. And I'm sorry, it's the harsh truth, but I've been to a lot of houses where it's just women and it's absolute chaos. There's no structure. And this is why they have problems with their dog. Because women tend to lead with emotion. And if, men and women are meant to complement one another, right? Women tend to lead with emotion. They're meant to be more nurturing. Men are supposed to be more structured, be more centered. Of course, men have emotions too, but we're supposed to not lead with emotions. But that's the problem. It's a problem with all you motherfuckers. All these people out here, especially in these stupid fucking red pill communities and all this shit, saying, well, women's supposed to follow just because she's a woman and I'm a man. It don't fucking work like that, man. It don't fucking work like that. Right? You have to demonstrate. Just like in the animal world, right? The males have to demonstrate characteristics. Compete, fight, battle, make their way to the top. They have to demonstrate certain characteristics to get a female to be open to procreating with them. Because at the end of the day, this all comes down to who's got the strongest genes. If you do not demonstrate leadership qualities to a woman, why would she submit to you? You're not owed. Women don't owe you shit. And then you have people, there was a comment I saw today. The way to combat this, you just don't engage. Just don't interact at all. Just basically saying like, fuck it, I throw in the towel. I'm never going to talk to women again. Fuck them. They're the problem. Well, you have now just succumbed to what the propagandists want you to succumb to. This victim mindset of fuck it, it's over. I can't win. Why play the game? The game's rigged. Well, my solution is, why don't you just learn how to be a fucking man? And you'll find a woman who is willing to follow. But you have to develop those characteristics. And not all men are born leaders. I'm sorry, it's just the way it is. There are some men out there that you just, they call them the incels, right? Well, I'm sorry. Nature has decided your genes just, they're not going to get propagated. I don't know how to tell you. It is what it is. It's the harsh truth. And unfortunately, we live in a time where there are a lot of genes getting propagated that personally, I don't think they really should. Now, I have some controversial opinions as far as like, pedos. I think we should just give them the death penalty. If you go to jail because you're sexually molesting kids, well, you should just get the death penalty. Why should we let their genes be propagated? And then we release them back into society and wonder why they fucking do it again. Just get rid of them. Or, rapists, right? Now, I'm very pro-life, and not for religious reasons. I'm pro-life because I just believe that if you take an action, then you should bear the responsibility of those actions. So if you get somebody pregnant, then you should step up and take care of that kid. But if a woman is raped by a man, I don't see anything wrong with them aborting that kid, because why should his genes be propagated? Why? He didn't earn the right to mate. So why should we allow his genes to go to the next generation? Fuck that. Now, you can hate that all you want. I know people are going to disagree with that. But really, why should we? Even in, like, ancient Sparta was a time, and I'm not saying I even agree with this, but ancient Sparta was a time when, because of the culture they had, they evaluated every baby. I think it was only boys. They evaluated every baby boy. And if they deemed that baby boy to be weak, because they knew that very early in their childhood, there were rites of passage back then we don't have nowadays, turning boys into men. But they knew the life of that child was going to be, everything about that child's existence was to build them into the world's best, most elite warrior. And if they believed that the genes of that child wouldn't make it, they'd toss them off a cliff. Just like in the animal world, there are species that will eat their young, or they'll abandon them, or because they, for one reason or another, they have been deemed to be too weak. Mother Nature is a cruel bitch. Sorry, I don't know what to tell you. We can hate it all we want, but that's the way it is. Now, but this idea of cuteness and people giving into their dog because they're cute, well, your dog doesn't see it that way, first of all. So what are you communicating to your dog when you cave into them because they're cuteness? All your dog is seeing from you or getting from you is, well, you're just showing me weakness. You're showing me that I can get away with this, that you're not going to enforce this rule, if you've even established a rule, but you're giving the dog power in that situation. So don't be surprised when the dog does it again and is maybe more confident or demanding when it does it again, because you've already shown it that it's going to get away with it the first time. Just like all you men out there who give so much power to women because they're physically attractive, or you think they're a dime, or they're a 10, or they're hot, or they're caked up, or whatever. You automatically put all of this power into a woman's hands just because you think she looks good? Are you fucking serious? And then you wonder why you end up getting disrespected, because you put them on a pedestal and you don't even know anything about them. Just because they look good does not mean that their attitude, their moral system, their personality, it doesn't mean that they're a good match in all the other areas that you're looking for. Since they say you put the pussy on a pedestal, man, you got to take the power out of the pussy. But men do the same thing with what's between a woman's legs. You all got to stop doing that shit too. You got to cultivate an attitude of like, I got the diamond dick, all right? You got to work for my dick. I ain't working for your... Because listen, at the end of the day, if we're supposed to be the ones who lead, then that means we're the decision makers. We do the protecting. We got to put our life on the line if a threat presents itself. We're supposed to not lead with emotion. There are a lot of you emotional motherfuckers out there, and you wonder why women don't feel safe enough to follow you. Because you're more emotional than they are in some ways. Well, if I'm in that position, and I'm the one that has to run shit, and I have that responsibility, well then yeah, that's how I'm gonna move. Like, I have a lot of worth, and if you do not cater to my program, well, goodbye. Move on to the next. This is how I've become very, very successful in my interpersonal relationships or in my dating world, because the way I structure things, upon first meeting or interacting with a woman, I give instruction. Because I want to see, will she follow instruction? What's her mentality? What's her attitude like? Or is she even genuinely interested in me? And if a woman enthusiastically, let's say I just say, hey, let's meet at the park and let's walk our dogs. Or let's meet here, grab a drink. Or let's grab a cup of coffee. If I don't get an enthusiastic yes, with no fucking argument or negotiating, then all right. She's showing me that she is following along. With a good attitude, mind you. So we move to the next step. But a lot of you motherfuckers out here, you have problems because, let's say you offer a woman, they go out for coffee, and maybe she cops an attitude. She's like, well, no, I think we should go out to dinner. You should take me out to dinner. And you say, oh, yes, ma'am, okay. What did you show that woman? Now, she's the one dictating to you the terms, and you're following her. It's no different with your dog, where if your dog is the one dictating to you, giving demands to you, telling you what to do, and you follow along because they're cute, just like you'll cave into a woman because you think she's so hot. Oh, I better do what she wants so I can, because I don't want to lose this one. And Caesar and Andrew will kind of touch on that here. You already failed. You already lost. And then you wonder why you don't get respect. See, this is a notion that I think everybody, especially men, should adhere to. It's women fall in love, right? They want the love story. So let women fall in love. Men, you should fall into respect. If you're not getting respect, then move on. Find another one. Because if you don't have respect, just like with your dog, if you don't do what you need to do to build respect with that dog, you're not going to have a harmonious and fruitful relationship with that dog. You're going to have problems. This goes back to hierarchy. Demonstrate leadership qualities. Know what to look for. Of course, this requires a lot of internal work, and you will find somebody who will follow along and give you the respect that you're looking for. Just like if you do that with your dog, you will get the respect you want from your dog, and you will coexist peacefully. Because, right, like what did I say? The dominance hierarchy, the purpose of it is to avoid conflict, is to prevent conflict. But a lot of you people out here, there's so many relationships out here where people argue and they fight. And we have a culture now where we think that's normal. That's not fucking normal. What is an argument? It's a power struggle. An argument is a battle for control. So if you and your lady friend or whatever are getting into it, well, all that's really going on there is it's a power struggle. It's a battle for control. What that means is you don't actually have what it takes to lead. That's your sign if you're constantly fighting and arguing. That's your sign. Just like with your dog. Your dog is getting in power struggles with you, or your dog isn't listening 100%, or you have issues like that. They're butting heads. There's conflict. That means that the hierarchy is fucked up. You don't have the power in that situation that you should. You don't have control. The power dynamic is fucked up. And this is why this 50-50 bullshit, it does not exist. Somebody will always have more power than the other. There's no way around it. That's why people who believe in these partnerships with men and women and try to do things 50-50, it leads to conflict, it leads to problems. Now, I'll continue here in a minute, but it's like the perfect example is, what do y'all bitch about? What do y'all men bitch about? A a famous one is, say, like deciding what to have for dinner, right? Woman doesn't know what to have for dinner. Or you say, hey, do you want to go here? Do you want this? And she says, no. What do you want? And then you say, I don't know. What do you want? I want to go. Let's go where you want to go. You're trying to cater to her, but then she puts it right back in your lap. Or you give her a bunch of options, and she says, no, I don't want that, or no, I don't want that. What is really going on there? She wants you to just say, hey, this is where we're going for dinner tonight. This is what I want you to wear, and just take her there. She doesn't want to make the decisions. That's why she throws it back in your lap. She does not want, and I've talked to women who they're not even conscious of this. When I bring that to their attention, they're like, oh, yeah, you know what? You're right. I hadn't thought of it that way. This is how unaware we are. There's a lot going on here people aren't even fucking privy to. And then we wonder why we have so many arguments. And then the guy gets frustrated. Why can't you just decide what to have for dinner? I'm sorry, man. It's not in their nature to do so. They want you to just decide. You're supposed to be in the driver's seat. You make the decisions. You bear the responsibility if you're a man. So act like one. Just decide on what to have for dinner and fucking go there. You know how much women love that shit? Right? Those are very masculine traits. That's going to bring out more femininity within the woman. Right? She'll go along for the ride. She'll be happy you just made a decision. You were assertive about it. And you went. And she'll feel appreciated because you took the time to think about, because I assume you're also considering what she would like to eat too, where you know where to go. You know that this place, hey, I bet you she'll love this dish, or you just know what to do there, right? You're still considering the other person. But you're the one driving the ship. So don't get mad at her because you can't be decisive. That's a lot of the problems here with the men out here. They're not decisive. They whiffle waffle. Or they make a decision and they go back on the decision. They can't stick to their word. Right? Let's continue.
A little bit on why it's so important to stay in the frame of, we're really asking humans to think more like dogs, but to behave in a way that is somewhere in between.
Yes, and this is why my channel is called Act Like a Human, Think Like a Dog. Now that was a saying Caesar had kind of coined years ago, and I actually forgot about it when I named the channel, but then I was reminded, like, oh shit, that was Caesar. Because Caesar's one of my biggest influences. But, yes, think like your dog expects you to think like it. But you expect the dog to just listen and understand you, and this is where we go wrong.
80% of my clients are women. 80%. When I go to, their home, because I like to assess and evaluate the dynamics inside the house, the dog is in the front, wife is number 2, kids are number 3, husband is in the back of the pack.
This is in the United States.
Yeah, the United States. Yeah. United States. So, why the dog is in the front? She puts him there. Mm-hmm. Why? Because she only practices affection. And why the husband is in the back? Because she practices rules, boundaries, limitations with him.
Now, here's where I'm gonna disagree with Caesar a little bit. He's right though. And I've been to so many fucking homes where this is the dynamic. The woman is the one running shit. The man's in the back. The dog is at the top of the hierarchy. Well, why? Because, again, women tend to prioritize and put affection first, emotions first. And this influences how they interact with the dog. And how they interact with the dog shapes how the dog perceives you. And if dogs are creatures of hierarchy, right, everything comes down to, where do I fit in this group? Who's running the show in this group? Who makes the rules around here? Who's in charge? Who's the strongest member of the group? And you display weak traits, your dog doesn't have any fucking choice but to take over. Whether it's a submissive dog or whether it's a dominant dog. Doesn't matter, because no matter where that dog sits, instinctually it's saying somebody's got to be in charge around here. Because that's all it knows. But what I'll say, the thing I disagree with him on, is where he says the woman practices rules, boundaries, and limitations for the man. She puts him there. I don't agree with that. The man allowed her to put him there. Just like the man allowed the dog to take over. We bear the responsibility. It's not the woman's fault if you're too fucking weak and you let the woman take over. You cave to the woman. You cater to the woman. You give the woman power and control. It's not her fault. You did that. You allowed her to put you there. And if the day you met that woman, and let's say, now this is the way I do shit. I give my number and say, hey, text me or call me. I don't ask and beg for their fucking phone number. Stop doing that shit, guys. You give them your number. You tell them why you're talking to you. You introduce yourself, be a gentleman. And you let them know, hey, I'm interested in doing this. Call me or text me. You know, and if you hear from them, then they know they're interested. But what do most of you do? You beg for the phone number. Maybe they reluctantly give you the phone number. And maybe you pester them for weeks trying to get them to go on a date. And you think they're playing hard to get or some shit, but they're just not interested in you. They're not attracted to you. Because based on the way you came at them or started the interaction with them, the way you presented yourself, that first impression, you probably came across awkward, weak, shy, timid. And this woman knows you're a bitch. And she knows if she's the type, she could take advantage of you. So this sets the precedent for everything to follow. Then let's say you manage to get that woman on a date. Finally, she's like, she agrees. She just caves, and she's like, fine. There's something I heard about Ben Shapiro, where the story of him and his wife is he like pestered her. He just was relentless. And guys think, oh, if I'm persistent, that's a good thing. No, it fucking isn't. And finally, she gave in and agreed to go. It's like you don't want that dynamic. You are asking for trouble. You are asking to be disrespected. Because you're not demonstrating that your time is worth anything, and you're not demonstrating that there's a certain standard you have, and if you don't adhere to this standard, I'm just going to go somewhere else. And if you're not interested, cool, that's fine. I'm not going to continually bother you. If you show me through your actions or not responding, you're not interested, all right, cool, hey, it is what it is. I hope you find what you're looking for. I'm going to go somewhere else. But what do most of you do? I see women post this in Facebook all the time. They post these DMs. It's just like the guy just pestering week after week, day after day, message, what you doing? Hey girl, what you doing? And then you get mad if she don't respond. Man, fuck you. You're the problem. But you want to blame the woman. And then you go out on a date with that woman, and that woman knows you're weak as fuck. So what does she do? She's disrespectful to you, but you take it because you're like, oh fuck, I finally got her out on a date. So you just tolerate it. And maybe time goes on. Let's say you get in a relationship with this woman. This woman has all the power and control, and she knows it, and she disrespects you over and over again. And you take it. And then we want to blame the woman when, say, you get married and she divorces your ass and takes half your shit because maybe you got some money or something. And then say it's the woman's fault. No, motherfucker, from day one, you showed how much of a weak little bitch you are. The hierarchy, the power dynamic was fucked up, and you accepted it. So, that's why I say Caesar is wrong, saying she put you there. No, you allowed her to put you there. And I guarantee from day one, you set the precedent that she could do that, and you fucking went along with it.
You see it? So look. So she is capable to practice leadership, but she practices it with the wrong member in the house. The dog needs the leadership.
Now, yes, listen, she's capable. But, what did I say earlier? If the man isn't demonstrating those masculine qualities, what's going to happen? Let's say that you and that woman end up getting in a relationship or something, and you start becoming weak. She naturally has to take that. She's going to naturally be more assertive, be more controlling, be more dominant. I would argue most women don't want that job, just like most dogs don't want that job. That's why it stresses them out. And I would argue most women don't feel safe when they're with a guy. They have to tell what to do, and they have to control, and they have to. Now there are some women built like that, sure, but the dynamic is flipped. So your weakness it brings out the more assertive side of the woman. It makes them more masculine because you're acting fucking feminine. Just like with your dog, you are acting weak and showing soft traits, acting like prey. Well, you're a predatory animal. That's gonna bring more of the assertive side out of them. It's gonna bring the wolf out of the dog. We talk about sexual polarity. What attracts people together? This is why when it comes to men and women, what repulses women when you're insecure, when you show weakness, when you beg for validation, right? But when you demonstrate stability, emotional stability, Confidence, right? Why do women love confidence so much? Because it demonstrates strength, self-assuredness, not needing their validation, certainty, direction, the ability to be decisive. These are strong traits. These are leadership qualities. That's why women are attracted to them. And I don't care what women say. You gotta stop listening to what women say and look what they do. They may say they don't like, quote, alpha dudes, but how often do they end up getting with those guys? And this is another problem I see. A lot of these guys out here bitch about, there's so many nice guys out here. You women are so fucked up. Why won't you? There's so many nice guys out here. Why don't you get with the nice guy? Y'all got it so twisted, it ain't even funny. It's not that women want assholes or pricks. They don't. Nice. What does that mean? Nice means you're bending over backwards for her. You have no boundaries. You have no backbone. You have no ability to assert yourself. You're not demonstrating strength. Nice is not the same as being kind. Nice is associated with being somebody who can be walked all over. Women aren't gonna. That doesn't make the pussy tingle. Yeah? So, sexual polarity. Imagine two magnets. Right? What happens when you got two positives or two negatives? Right? Either it repels each other or it's just like there's no attraction there. But you need a positive and a negative to make those magnets stick, to be attracted to each other. You have to have it. Just like the man, you have to demonstrate, you have to have those masculine qualities to attract a feminine woman. And you bring out that femininity in them. Which is why men, hey, ladies, take notes. If you act masculine, if you act like a man, that repels us. We're not attracted to that. It doesn't turn us on. Because you're acting like us. But if you display all feminine traits and you act like a woman, oh, hell yeah, all right. That's sexually appealing. I made a post talking about how, because, these guys complain, say, well, women, they find most men unattractive. Yeah, because the majority of men out here have no sex appeal whatsoever. Most of y'all don't even know what sex appeal is anymore. You don't have any charisma. There's no smoothness. You don't know how to talk. You don't know how to use your words. You don't know how to show certain body language. You don't know what energy to put out. And I'm going to do a whole video on it because everybody seems to think energy is like this woo-woo thing. You can't actually be specific about it, or there's nothing tangible about it. You can miss me with that shit because it is not woo-woo. Energy is everything. Right? So when men give off feminine energy, do you think that's going to attract the opposite sex? No. Masculine energy, right? If you approach a woman and you're like, hi, excuse me, I was wondering if you would like, if you'd be interested. You lost. That's a certain energy you're giving off. It comes out in your mannerisms. It comes out in your words. It comes out in your eye contact. Something you really got to work on, people, is being able to make eye contact with the opposite sex. How to look at them. When you give the right energy, masculine energy, strong energy, you can make eye contact. You can talk smooth. Hey, my name's Kevin. How are you today? Hey, the reason I came over is X, Y, and Z. I wanted to give you my number. Call me. I was thinking two of us could go out for a drink. Got this place around the corner I love to visit. I'm free Friday night, 8 o'clock. You call me, text me, let me know if you're available. All right. Have a great day. That's it. That's a different energy, though. And what it communicates is that you've been there and you've done it before. You know what you're doing. Certainty. Leadership. Decisiveness. I'll tell you day, time, and place. Rather than asking like, oh, I was wondering, would you be interested in maybe? No. You're demonstrating uncertainty. Lack of self-confidence. Insecurity. And then you wonder why you lose. And then you blame the fucking woman. Take some responsibility.
Right? Because why did they call me? Because now the kids can walk them. The friends' kids can come to the house. The dog steals food. Right? Or the dog barks at the neighbors. right? They don't have the ideal life that they chose or they thought they were going to have by having this Labradoodle. It should be the easiest one, right? Because those two breeds are practically, the epitome of like most docile breed. Right?
I know.
Right?
I tell the Labradoodle people, like, try raising a Bulldog Mastiff.
Right? Yeah.
From 8 weeks on.
Yeah,
you'll learn a lot about yourself.
It's a different strength.
Yeah.
Right? So this breed should be easier.
Yes, it is a different strength. And listen, people, stop getting breeds you have no business getting. Now, and listen, breed isn't everything. I've made so many videos on this too. Breed is not everything. The mentality in the dog is what's most important. But just as a general rule of thumb, if you're a new dog owner, don't get fucking pit bulls, don't get Cane Corsos, don't get bull mastiffs, stop it. And don't get dogs that don't suit your lifestyle. Stop it. Don't get dogs because you see some shit on social media and you think it's cool. Or it's like a status thing for you to have this. Stop it. As you can see, I mean, because I've been to many homes with these Labradoodles too, and it can't even handle a Labradoodle. And you're going to handle a fucking pit bull? No, stop it.
Because it's designed to be easier. But because they only practice affection first, or only affection, the dog end up going in front of the pack. So this is what happens when people wants to practice affection first, or when they prioritize affection to the dog, but to the rest of the pack. It's very clear for me that she practices rules, boundaries, limitations to the husband. He has to do whatever she said, but the dog doesn't do whatever she says.
Now, and listen, and this was why I titled the video I did, where I said, weak men allow women to dominate them, and then they let the dog dominate the family. This is it, all right? It all comes down to power dynamics and hierarchy. So what is the hierarchy? What he said. Dog on top, women in second, then the kids, then the husband. And again, what is dominance? Power and influence over others. So, what has happened over time through the way the man communicates and his lack of spine, lack of backbones, lack of standards, lack of leadership, the woman now has to take that role for the benefit of the hierarchy. It's just instinctually, this is how social species are. Right? So that alludes to a power dynamic. And what did he say? She makes rules, boundaries, limitations for him. So, she's in the dominant position. But the dog doesn't listen to her either. The dog doesn't listen to anybody. The dog's actually the one in the dominant position. Because if she's number two and everybody else in the family is leading with love and affection and catering to the dog and allowing the dog to do whatever it wants, well, yeah, the dog's going to believe it's got the top position. Now the dog is making rules, boundaries, and limitations for everybody. And a lot of people don't even fucking know it. You know, I love to bring this one up because it's so subtle and simple, but it happens. I see it all the time. Dog, you're sitting on the couch and your dog goes up to you and like nudges your hand, And we think, oh, the dog, he wants to be pet. He just telling me he wants to be pet. No, he's telling you what to do. He's saying, pet me, bitch. Pet me, human. And what do? You start petting him. Well, in your mind, you're thinking, oh, this dog's so smart. He's telling me he wants me to pet him. And the dog's thinking, hey, pet me, motherfucker. And then you do it, and then the dog, now it just reinforces the belief in the dog that, hey, I tell you what to do. I'm in control. You do what I say. Right? The dog's now making, and this is why my conclusion when, a lot of times when people say like, oh, it came out of nowhere, the aggression, it didn't make any sense. It was random. Or a dog bites you and you just don't know what, it appears random. Well, the conclusion I've come to is that if that dog's in the top position and it's making rules and boundaries and limitations for the family, and you violate a rule, it's going to discipline you. So it looks random, but in the dog's head, it's like, hey, you're breaking one of my rules. We're completely unaware of it, but this is the nature of hierarchy. The dog is enforcing obedience because the dog has authority. What's the definition of authority? Authority is the right to enforce obedience and give direction. Dominance leads to authority. You can't have authority without dominance. if you have power and influence over, then that gives you the right, right? This is why dominating your dog is important, because that gives you the right to enforce obedience. Just like if the woman is dominating you and you've given into it, you've surrendered, as Caesar will say, that woman now has power and influence over you, which gives her the right to enforce obedience, make rules, boundaries, and limitations for you. And then you break one of her rules, and what happens? Oh, you're going to sleep on the couch tonight. You're in the doghouse. Or you're going to lose this privilege. And you all just fucking, or not all of you. There's a lot of men out there who just, they'll cater to it. They'll do it. I don't understand it. Well, my wife says, my wife's mad. My wife says I gotta be home by 10. She was real mad that I didn't come home by 10 last night. I really fucked up, guy. I'm in the doghouse. You can miss me with that bullshit. Fucking woman telling a grown man what time to be home. Get the fuck out of here. You got a pair of nuts between your legs? Come on. But that's how it works, right? But a lot of you, well, actually, let me let the conversation continue.
So that we have to change, we have to help people to understand. It's not that love is bad. It's just, what are you giving love to? I'm so happy you're raising this.
Right. And a lot of people interpret, because I put so much emphasis on stop giving affection to your dog. Stop it. People give way too much affection and love in all the wrong times. And people interpret that as, you're saying I can't pet my dog. You're saying I can't love my dog, can't give my dog affection. No, I'm saying you have to be selective about it. And you have to understand what you're saying to your dog when you do it. Dogs do not operate on the same level as we do. What matters is how your dog interprets the affection and love you give it. In the dog world, their communication is all centered around telling each other what they don't like. The most dominant dog in the group is going to discipline when the other dogs break a rule. The dogs don't go around petting each other and giving affection, saying good boy. They don't do that shit. In their world, it's very binary. If the dominant dog or the dominant dogs don't have a disagreement when I do this, then we're good. But if I do this and now they're coming to discipline my ass, well, now I know I shouldn't do that thing. It's very simple, very black and white in their world. They don't praise each other when they do what the alpha wants. The alpha doesn't say, "Hey, good boy, I want you." No, it doesn't work that way. They just, if the alpha doesn't have a problem with it, then it's interpreted as, this is okay, this is acceptable. So make that the foundation of how you communicate with your dog. It makes it very clear and easy for you. You want to solve problems fast? Make that the foundation you operate from. Discipline first, but my communication is going to be, I'm just going to tell you what I don't like. And if you do something and I don't express a disagreement, then it means we're good. I don't have a problem with what you're doing. You don't have to say good boy and give affection every time your dog does something you like. There's a time and place for that, but people do it way too much, and it leads to over-communicating, and then you confuse the dog, you overstimulate the dog, you overexcite the dog, and it's a fucking mess.
I think some people will say, well, she has to treat the husband basically like a child because he's playing video games. I'm making the assumption here that we don't know what the dynamics are between the husband and the wife.
Right.
And I have a lot of married couple friends where it seems very balanced. I don't know what happens when I'm not there, obviously, but I know some where, yes, indeed, like there's some infantilization of the male, but he does that to himself too.
Okay.
He's behaving like a kid.
Right.
Or I also have seen very balanced.
Yes. Okay. Andrew makes a very good point here. A lot of people out here just love to blame women for shit. But let's look at it through their eyes, right? Let's say they get with a guy, and maybe at first he shows that he's solid, right? And as time goes on, let's say they live together. She notices that he says he's going to do X thing, and he doesn't do it, right? Even something simple like, you ever wonder why women just get mad over little shit like not doing the dishes or whatever task it may be? Saying you're going to take out the garbage, you don't do the garbage. You say, it's because if there was a time when you once did it, and now you're not. Right? It shows you're not consistent. You're slacking. But also, if you tell the woman, "I'll take out the garbage," and you don't do it because you're too busy playing video games or some shit, well, how does a woman interpret that? It interprets it as you're not being true to your word. You're not consistent with who you're not following through. You said you were going to do this, and as a fucking grown man, our word is our bond. You follow through on the shit you say you're going to do. So it means she's mad about it because you didn't say what you're going to do, which means I can't trust your word, which is showing weakness. That's not how leaders operate, which means I can't trust your leadership. How can I trust your masculinity if you won't even follow through on something simple like saying you're going to take out the garbage and just fucking doing it? You see how simple this can be? And then we as men were like, she nags and why does she nag so much? She gets mad about the littlest shit. Well, take a look in the mirror and maybe do some self-reflection and think about, okay, where have I fallen off? Things I used to be consistent about, now I'm not. Where am I saying I'm going to do something and not doing it? Where am I not upholding my end of the arrangement by being a good leader? But this applies to your dog too. You don't follow through. You tell them to do something and you don't follow through on it. Your word doesn't mean shit. You're going to lose respect. And that's what it comes down to with the woman. She don't respect. She's losing respect for you because you're not demonstrating solid character. Right? But you will build respect if you say, "I'm going to do this," and then you do it. Or, "I'm taking you out Friday night," and then you do it. Or, name it. It doesn't matter. From the littlest shit down to the big shit. You're consistent. Because that consistency also matters for your dog. And this is how power dynamics can slowly flip. If you're not consistent, if you don't follow through, right? If you're not solid, it's going to lose to a lack of trust and respect. Because everything with your dog is about relationship, just like everything with people is about relationship. And so this frustrates the woman because now she feels like she's got to take over and she don't want that job. So it leads to resentment. And then we wonder why we end up with sexless marriages, right? The sexual polarity is now flipped. Wonder why she has headaches every night. Because you're not acting like a man anymore. You're not doing the things you used to do that turned her on. The sexual polarity is gone, right? You're now probably acting more like a woman, right? So the hierarchy is now changing. Power dynamics are changing. She's now taking a more dominant role. So now she's enforced, she gets mad at you. So now she's got to start doing things to make rules for you because you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And now maybe at one time you did and now you're not. But there are some guys who from the jump they're like this. And so she knows from day one she's just dealing with a fucking bitch. And a lot of women settle because there's no other good options. So they settle for the top bitch, basically. And then you wonder why you all have such dysfunctional relationships. But of course, what a lot of guys do, they blame the fucking woman. Oh, she's such a nag. She's a bitch. It started with you, my friend. It all starts with the man.
And I've seen where it's a bit more of kind of the structure I grew up in, at least for the early part of my life. Maybe it's because my father's from South America, but until my parents split, it was like my dad was the dad, and then it was my mom, and then, and then there was the kids, and sadly we didn't have a dog.
Right,
but things are very different nowadays.
Yeah.
Right? And so I'm trying to...
Now Andrew just talked about the hierarchy of his home when he was growing up. Dad on top, then mom, then kids, then dog. That is the way it should be. That is the natural order. That is the hierarchy. And if you do it right, you will have such a peaceful, harmonious home. You will have a fruitful relationship. Right? That's the point of the hierarchy, is to create harmony, to avoid conflict. There's no fighting. There's no conflict. There's cooperation. See, a lot of people think cooperation is this 50-50 partnership. No. Think of your workplace, right? Everybody plays a role. There are power dynamics there. There's hierarchy. So everybody can cooperate, right? Employee cooperates with boss. If he's a good boss, he'll get a lot out of his employee. But those roles are there. The hierarchy's there so people can cooperate. And there are certain people who have more authority than others. So they can enforce rules, right? Dominance. So we can get a job done effectively and efficiently. It's the same with your dog. If you're at the top of that hierarchy, you're a good leader. You're consistent. You make rules, boundaries, and limitations, provide structure. You do everything in the right order. You'll create a harmonious relationship. And this is why I don't believe in training. You can't train an obedient dog. You can't train good behavior. You can't train your dog to respect you. That comes through the relationship dynamic. It comes through how you interact with the dog. It comes through the social fabric. It comes through who you are, who you're being, how you communicate with the animal. That's how you get respect. That's how you create a harmonious relationship. And it's the same with a woman. Right?
Remove any assumptions that the dynamic between the husband and wife are that way solely because of one or the other. There's an agreement there.
It's correct.
There's always an agreement.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. The agreement is that he surrender.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the agreement. At one point, you don't want fight, flight, avoidance, so the guy ended up surrendering. But the dog didn't. The dog took over.
And you also don't want so domineering that she's in fight, flight, surrender.
Correct.
Either, right?
We don't want that.
Yeah, that exists too, and that's bad also.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. This is such a good point. This clip is gold. Fucking gold. Okay. What are they talking about? Because Andrew's right. There's an agreement there. Right? And that's why I said from day one, like you meet a woman, there's a certain dynamic playing out. There's a precedent being set. Just like with your dog, the moment you meet them, how you present yourself, there is a precedent being set. There is a dynamic that is being formed. There's an agreement taking place whether you know it or not. Almost like a social contract, if you will. In this case, what did Caesar say? Yeah, the agreement was that the man surrender. Yeah, in the case where the man's at the bottom of the hierarchy, yeah, he surrendered to the woman. The woman, maybe it's from day one or maybe it happened over time. The man submitted to the woman. The woman started making rules for him, boundaries for him, telling him what to do, and he submitted to that. He accepted it. He surrendered to it. Because what did Caesar say? Out of fight, flight, or avoidance, the man doesn't want to fight with the woman, Cole, because he's scared of conflict. Oh, we don't want to upset the woman because she may flight, right? Or you wouldn't want to cause the woman. If you don't want to lose the woman out of fear of loss, I don't want to lose the woman. Or avoidance. I don't want the woman to avoid me. I don't want the cold shoulder. I don't want, I don't want her to take the kids and leave. Separation, divorce, whatever. He doesn't want the consequence. So he gives in. That is weakness. You're showing weakness. Going back to the way I do things. Like when I first meet a woman, if disrespect is shown right away, or if I get attitude, or if I can show right away that she's going to be difficult, she doesn't want to follow the program, I dismiss her. She's done. Because if you're showing me right off the bat, this is how you're going to be, no, on to the next. You're not for me. Man, the best thing you can do when you meet a woman is you give them instruction. You tell them what to do. That's why I say, give them your number. You tell them what you want to do. Hey, I'd like to take you out for a drink Friday night, 8 o'clock. I love this picture with this. You put this outfit on. You look so good in whatever. And then you see if they follow along with that. And if they give you attitude nah, she ain't for you. You got to be willing to lose them so that you can find the ones that are a good fit for you, that'll follow your program, because that means they're really interested in you, and that also shows that if you do things right, hey, they're gonna want to follow. So they're right off the bat, they're showing that okay, there's a potential for us to have a cooperative endeavor. And then day in and day out, you're measuring that, you're gauging that. But you got to be willing to walk away the minute they start to get disrespectful or get mouthy, start to show attitude. You're like, no, hey, you know what? Hey, you know what? I guess we're not a good fit. Take care. And listen, I don't care what happens. This is another problem that guys have out here is they get so emotionally involved in this, and they bitch out the woman. They start yelling at the woman. Don't do that shit. I don't care how she's acting. You don't need to sink to her level. If she's being disrespectful, acting a certain way, all you need to do is see your way out. Just exit. Be like, hey, you know what? I don't know what's going on with you, but I'm not cool with this. Have a good life. Now, if you've been with a woman for a long time, just check her. Again, just check her. Sometimes you just got to let them know this ain't going to be tolerated. And if you can't handle that, there's the door. And if they can't adjust their attitude accordingly, then they get fired. That's the way you got to do shit, guys. Y'all tolerate way too much disrespect. You've got to operate your interactions with the opposite sex like a leader. You got to be willing to, sometimes you got to be cutthroat. Rules, boundaries, structure, limitation. You have to know yourself as a man. You got to stay true to yourself as a man, but you have to demonstrate, right, these characteristics so that women know they can't just disrespect you and get away with it. They know they can't just step on your toes like that. Because the minute you say you're going to walk away and then you don't, you lost. You got to be one to actually fucking do it. So I say don't pay attention when people say, pay attention to what they do. If I tell a woman, don't do this, and then they do it, say, all right, goodbye. And you got to fucking mean it. How many of you are actually capable of that, though? That's the problem, because you don't demonstrate strength in that way. And a woman's got to know that you're capable of that, because you're not going to put up with fucking bullshit. Just saying. But then so then the agreement, let's say everything goes right. Let's say the woman I'm seeing right now. The agreement is, this is going on 2 years. We have an agreement. She's demonstrated consistently over time that she follows the program. She's interested. There has not been a hiccup. Good attitude all the time. No argument. No fighting. Nothing. Because there shouldn't be. So that's somebody that's shown over time consistency in their character as well. So they deserve to stay around. It's like with my dog, right? She consistently demonstrates the right attitude, that she's following, that she listens, that the power dynamic is like, she's not going to make demands of me, she's not going to engage in power struggles, she's not going to cause conflict. So she gets all the freedom she could ever want. So, like with the woman I'm seeing, there's more leniency there. I spend more time with her. I give her more of my time because she deserves it. She's earned that. A lot of you just give it away too willingly, too freely. And then it's not appreciated. Right? That's another part of it. You make your dogs earn everything. You make people in your life earn things. You give it away too freely, too willingly. People take advantage of that shit. And please, by no means am I saying treat your woman like a dog. That's not what the fuck I'm saying. I'm just saying, as a leader, you lead the same no matter what. Whether it's with kids, people, dogs. All the same principles and traits and skills apply. It's all the same shit. Because it's about knowing yourself first. You have your own standards, your principles, your values, your boundaries, your rules. And people are either going to adhere to that or they're not. And the people that don't, they're not in your life. The people that do, they stick around. They get more of your time. You give them more of yourself. With your dog, they get more freedom. They get more privilege. Because they deserve it. They can handle it. You know, like a lot of you, or you just right off the jump, you're so willing to buy girls their nails and take them on trips and flaunt your money. Well, yeah, you're a sucker. You're gonna get taken advantage of, and then you wonder why all she cares about is your money. Well, that's what you led with, instead of leading with who you are as a man, and her earning more of your time because she's shown you certain characteristics that tell you like, all right, yeah, I will give you more of my time. I'll give you more of myself because you deserve that. I like what I'm seeing from you. And it has nothing to do with how they look, right? Who, the character inside. Who are they as a person?
My relationship now with a woman is I have a good instinctual relationship, right? With my masculine energy.
Oh, back to, so just real quick. With my interpersonal dealings, the agreement is also that she surrenders to me. I'm the dominant figure. I have the control. But a lot of people misinterpret that as you being controlling. No. It's the same with dogs. People have this knee-jerk reaction nowadays to control. It's such a bad thing. Now, there are, and like he said earlier about you don't want to go too far in the other direction of being overly domineering, and that also causes fight, flight, or avoidance, say in the woman. And absolutely right. If you go too far in the other direction, you cause a fight, or the woman's gonna run away because now she doesn't feel safe, or the woman's gonna avoid you because she doesn't feel safe. Just like your dog will avoid, I say like that, there's a happy medium, right? Calm and assertive. You don't want to go too far in either direction. You go too far this way, you're too soft. You get walked all over. You go too far in this way, well, now you could be perceived as a threat. People don't feel safe because you're now adding emotion to things. You're angry, you're frustrated, you're aggressive. You don't want to be that way either. Dominance is very much centered and stable, emotionally, more than anything. That's why, like with women especially, you don't try to hold on to them. Why do you try to do that too? You try to control out of insecurity because you're afraid or you're jealous or you can't do that. You got to be confident and self-assured enough to let them live their own lives. And if they come to you willingly, right? This is about willingly, people willingly following, your dog willingly following, right? This is why it can't be trained. You have to influence, right? What is dominance? Power and influence over. If you can influence the opposite sex or influence your dog in the right way through how you communicate, through how you present yourself, through characteristics and trait you demonstrate, then you will influence them to willingly follow. You don't have to control at that point. You're in control. It's like with a woman. You're not going to control who she sees or talks to or whatever, especially if you're just dating. Now, if you get in a relationship, you'll have a talk about like what are the boundaries, right? And then if she violates that boundaries, or if you violate those boundaries, well, now we have a problem. But until that day, it's like, see who you want. I don't care. Live your life. You're free. Who am I to tell you what to do? But now you're demonstrating strength, self-assuredness, confidence, because it doesn't threaten you who they see. But when they're in your presence, obviously, there's a certain code of conduct. So it's not about controlling the other person, just like it's not about controlling the dog. It's about influencing the dog or the opposite sex into wanting to follow, wanting to be around you, wanting to give you the responsibility to lead.
Is the one who gives direction, protection. When before, I used to follow this concept of happy wife, happy life. And how can I make her happy? She has to make herself happy. So I end up surrendering to everything she wanted. And so this concept of, happy wife, happy life didn't work for me. Right. And so I just went back into, okay, I'm just going to become confident and attract a woman that wants to become surrendered to this area, which is the instinctual area. Spiritually, we're the same. Emotionally, we're the same. Financially, we're the same. but instinctually, that's the part that I couldn't just not be masculine, right? Or calm, confident. I just couldn't. And it works beautiful now.
Oh, it sounds,
Yes. Okay. Caesar figured it out. Now, when Caesar came to America, I can almost guarantee that this happy wife, happy life sentiment he bought into, he was probably through, like, he didn't realize it, but he was being influenced by the propaganda in the West. The cultural trends in the West, where everything is very much, well, we cater to the woman. He probably thought that that was what you're supposed to do, especially in America. If he wants to find somebody in America, he probably thought that's how he's supposed to go about things. But I challenge you to find any man who's gone that way and is happy or is successful. And so what did he say? Now, his masculine energy, right, is about protection and direction. Now, one thing I hate about the conversation online is that a lot of these people talk about, like, well, a man's supposed to provide and provide, protect, and blah, blah. And fuck that. Your job as a man is to lead, but provision is earned. A woman can't just come in and earn the right to pay for you to pay her bills and get protection and so on and so forth. No. That shit's got to be earned. Like, if you're my girlfriend, all right, now I will now go out of my way to protect you. If you're my wife, now I will definitely go out of my way to protect you and provide. That shit's earned. It doesn't come right away. But his masculine energy now is centered on leading, direction, and protection. So I'm in charge. I make rules. I have to protect the group, so I'm responsible. So it behooves, it's mutually beneficial for everybody to let me to make decisions. Because I'm looking out for the group, protecting the group, what benefits the group. And he found somebody who was a match for that. So, what did Caesar really say there? He said, I steered away from who I really was. Because, listen, don't misinterpret my title where I said weak men allow women to dominate them. I do not believe Caesar is a weak man by any stretch of the imagination. But I think in that particular context, when he was looking for dating women or finding women, he displayed weakness to them because he bought into this idea of happy wife, happy life. So he was catering to the woman. He was showing weakness to the woman specifically. And that created a certain dynamic. But I do not believe Caesar is a weak fucking man by any stretch. I think he just made the wrong decisions there. Which I've done too. I've been through it. I'm speaking from experience, guys. It hasn't always been perfect. In my 20s, I was as much of a bitch as anybody else. I had to figure all this shit for myself. And I had to develop certain traits and skills and figure it out. So I've been down those roads where, catering to the women and allowing women. And the problem I always had is at first, before I got emotionally invested in a woman, I was that confident, assertive, and that's why I was able to draw them in like bees to honey. But once I got too emotionally involved, I started acting weak, and then it repelled the woman, and then the woman got disrespect, or that they would leave. And I knew that was a part of myself I had to fix, and especially after I got my dogs. I knew I was like, my dogs aren't going to respect me, especially Bruno, if I don't fix this part of myself. And now I'm in a place where, I don't operate the same way. You got to kill the bitch inside, so to speak. But so now Caesar found a woman who would follow that program, and now it's harmonious. He can be masculine, she can be feminine, and it's a yin and a yang, and it works together. It's cooperative, it's mutually beneficial, and like you said, it's instinctual. I think a lot of this is instinctual, but we may not be aware of it. And what did he say there? It was
works beautiful now. I just couldn't.
Yeah,
and it works beautiful now.
oh, it sounds,
and that's masculine, right? Or calm, confident. I just couldn't.
right, calm, confident. He calls it calm, assertive.
Couldn't, and that's works beautiful now.
like you hit the bullseye.
Yeah.
There. Actually,
I've hit the bullseye too. And listen, guys, listen. When you operate this way in your dating life, you're gonna lose a lot of women. Because a lot of women nowadays, especially nowadays, you know, they don't want. They look at it like a lot of women now. It's oppression. Oh, who are you? It's toxic masculinity, or it's misogyny. First of all, look up the definition of misogyny for all you people who throw that word out there. Men who simply understand the natural roles and want to play their natural role. That's not hating women, all right? But somebody in the comments rightly pointed out there's a lot of misandry out there where it's like women hating men, and we see a lot of that in the culture, but nobody seems to talk about that. But it's very beautiful when you can operate that way, and then you find a woman who also wants that. It's harmonious.
Since we're talking about human relationships, I have a friend. He has a very happy, very successful marriage. In the real sense that you walk into their home, like that, they have some. They have a couple of kids. One of them has some special needs, but that they're managing that well. The home is very balanced. They seem very, very happy. And he was giving advice to some other guys, and he said, you know, among the women that would be like partners, good partners for you, you have to make a decision about how much you want somebody who's going to give you instructions versus leave you alone versus wants, you know, some direction. It's a very edgy thing to say, you know, at the time. Now you can have these kinds of conversations.
Yeah, finally.
No, I still don't. I can't quite make out if Andrew's talking about a woman saying she wants somebody to give instruction and she can lead, or if he was talking about one of his male friends saying he wants a woman to give instruction. I still don't know. But guys, find a woman out there who is looking for instruction. And listen, sometimes women don't even know until it hits them. Until they find a man who actually acts like a man. Sometimes women might say they don't want this, and this, but then when a man shows up and makes them tingle, women will know. Some of them will change. You know, they'll change their position because the emotions now are taking over. But also, listen, guys. It means you have to be able to give instruction. You have to be good at that. And the same applies to your dog. You have to be clear in the instruction and the direction you give. It has to make sense to the dog. Just like your instruction to the opposite sex, it must be clear. It's got to have a purpose. It must make sense. It's not just giving instruction for the sake of being some domineering asshole. It's not what I'm advocating for. Right?
Yeah, and it was very interesting. There were 3 other guys at the table, none of whom are married, including me, and we each had different answers to that question. One said, "Yeah, I want somebody that I can like really be in, like kind of wants to be led."
Right.
Not subservient, you know, obviously respect and kindness, all that, but the other one, he said, I want someone who's like really gonna like keep me in line. I was very shocked. I was like, this is incredible. But he was being honest. He wanted someone who was basically going to like keep him out of his childlike nature.
Okay.
When the childlike nature wasn't going to help.
Right.
Keep the structure of the home. I think it's a very important thing, this notion of.
Now, okay, this is the end of it. This is all I'll say about that. Now, listen, teach their own. If that guy, if he needs that, all right, so be it. If I heard a guy saying that, or at least for me personally, I don't think we should be relying on women to keep them in check. I don't. If you have to do that, or if you're looking for that in a woman, I think you still have work to do on yourself, personally. I don't think grown men should be looking for women to keep them in check. To me, that's a sign that there's some work to do still. If I don't know, and I don't know what he means by childlike nature. I don't, because there may be perceptions, like they talk about video games earlier. He may have it in his head that playing video games is like childlike, and he needs a woman to tell him not to play so many video games. No, fuck that. Do what you want, man. But just understand your priorities. Understand your responsibilities. You want to play video games? Play some fucking video games. Who cares what anyone says about it? But just make sure that you're still getting your shit done, and you are, like I said earlier, you're following through on the same things you're saying you're going to do. You put your responsibilities first. You prioritize all that. And then when it's all said and done and you've handled everything you need to handle, play some fucking video games. Who cares? And if a woman's going to nag you for that, well, ask yourself, what's really going on here? And is this the right woman for me? That's all I'll say about that. But no, I don't think we should need women to hold us in line. We should be doing that ourselves. Good leaders hold themselves accountable, check themselves. That's part of the gig. But this is also why I say a lot of you aren't, you're just not, you all want women to follow you and to be respectful and to cater to you, but you don't know how to be a good leader. And so you can't just expect them to follow suit when you don't have what it takes to do the job to begin with. But anyway, guys, this is a long one. I think it's the longest video I've ever done on this channel. But I hope y'all got something out of this. There's so much. These rabbit holes go so deep. I just skimmed the surface of a lot of these different topics, like the Milgram experiment, the propaganda, obedience to authority, the utilizing the expert class to utilize public opinion, or to shape public opinion, to serve agenda. I mean, there's so many layers to this. You know, the shit that they put in the water and in the air and in the food to influence or emasculate men further and to influence biology. I mean, there's so many different aspects of it. But remember what I said earlier. If you can't spot the propaganda, then you're already being influenced by it. And just keep that in mind. All you people who watch red pill shit and MGTOW shit and feminist this, and just remember, there's a reason those groups take hold like they do. There's a reason trends take hold like they do. Do you think that shit's really organic? Haven't you ever asked yourself, like, where do these trends start? Whether it's words people use, or fashion, or style, or behavior, or the way we, memes. You know what a meme is? Psychology meme is like an idea that goes viral. Do you see the words we use? Your language exposes you. But and that has an evolution of its own. And there's a reason certain memes kind of die out and others take hold and kind of changes culture. So always ask yourself. Now, you'll reach a point, especially when you read these books and you study this and you understand the nature of propaganda and how people in power utilize, whether it's government or corporations or NGOs or all different facets of society, whether it's your average social media influencer, right? Think about that word. It's all designed to, there's reasons behind it. Nothing's by accident. Anyway, we're hitting 2 hours. Holy shit. If you made it to the end, please, seriously, thank you. I'm sure this video will have a shit ton of comments, but really appreciate everybody watching. If there's any one of these topics you want a deeper dive on, let me know. I'm happy to do it. I very much appreciate everybody watching the clip that's been blowing up. Thank you so much. All the topics in this video, I have wanted so much to talk about, especially this man-to-woman thing. And I finally, in a place where I think I can do it and people will listen. So thank you all, everybody. Have a wonderful day.